Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Munoz, CEO of the experience agency D-Flash. Each week, I bring on a different person from business who's doing some game-changing work. And this is a part of a series for a podcast row and the Glow Podcast Network that we're doing. And we're interviewing incredible women from around the world who are doing some game-changing things. In this episode, I talk with Janel Muhammed, who's the founder of Destination Own. We talk about luxury travel, business, pivoting, and all the things that help her be incredibly successful. It's a great conversation. Take a listen. Hey, Janelle.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you. We're here matching in red. So, as you've been listening to the podcast, I hear, you know that I ask the same question to everyone first off the bat to see where it takes you.
Okay.
So, Janelle, what was your first job?
My first job, I was 14 and I worked at a telemarketer.
Again, child labor laws?
Yeah.
I don't think that's legal. I'm going to go out on a limb.
Right.
That might not be legal.
I don't think it was legal either. I only had the job for maybe 3 weeks. And my first paycheck I gave to my mother.
As one does.
Yes.
So how does one get a telemarketing job at 14 years old? And where was this? Because I'm going to write a note too.
Right. It was in Virginia somewhere. We were living in Woodbridge. And I don't remember how I got the job. I just know I was kind of hired on the spot. I don't remember
how old you were. You're
right.
like,
I don't remember how I found out about it or if I was with anyone. I was just there.
And you were picking up the phone and calling people and selling them what? Rugs or insurance?
I think, what was I selling? I don't even remember because honestly, I was probably BSing most of the time. Because, I'm very shy and I was 14, so I was even more shy at that time.
You could be more shy than you are right now?
Yeah. I didn't really want to do it. I just thought I needed a job. I really didn't. But
because you were 14.
Right.
In Virginia, and it was the summertime, clearly.
Yes, it was.
As one does. Did you learn anything from that experience other than you don't want to ever do telemarketing ever in your life?
No,
again?
that was all I learned. That was absolutely it.
Yeah, you knew what you didn't like.
Yes.
Well, that's the most important thing that comes out of these things because it enables you to feel a little bit more comfortable. Like, yep, not for me.
Not for me.
Not going to do that. Okay, so after you're illegal working for a telemarketer, what do you do next?
So next I have a series of, little jobs, actually mostly working for my grandmother and her sister. I helped them just grow old gracefully.
As one does.
Right. And after that, I was a seamstress. That was like my real career.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
My mom also is a seamstress still to this day. And can sew anything with her eyes closed. It's kind of disturbing because I can barely sew a button.
Yeah, I started sewing when I was 9. My grandmother taught me. But I was always kind of a lazy sewer, so I didn't want to press the seams.
See, that's the thing I was always made to do.
Right.
That was me. I am so good at that.
That was the worst.
I know how to do that with my eyes closed. That I can do with my eyes closed because I learned so hard. Me and an iron are good people.
No, I run from irons.
It's like it's a Caribbean thing. You have to
right.
Like an iron is part of your daily life. Okay, so you're a seamstress, and what are you sewing? Are you working in a shop? Or are you doing it from your home?
No, that was my first entrepreneurial experience. Actually, I started sewing for myself, designing. I went to Parsons for a little while before I got married and got pregnant, dropped out. So. Yeah, I just opened up my own business from home, started sewing for people and making uniforms and garments and whatever.
And so you do that and you're like, this is okay.
My issue was I couldn't charge people.
Because that's a humongous problem.
Yes. I was sewing for my friends and family and people that I knew through friends and family. And, something that they would pay, I don't know, back in the day, $200 for, I'd be like, okay, you can give me $50, So I was young and I just couldn't charge. Okay, stupid.
That's okay.
Okay.
It's not even lying.
Right. Okay, I was stupid. But it's grueling work after a while.
Exactly.
Especially in February.
I've witnessed this. It makes me feel better. My mom is the same way.
Yeah.
Like, I, on the other hand, am a capitalist. Okay, so you're becoming you're a seamstress. You're like, okay, this is all right, and then you're like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right. So I retired myself.
After how long?
Goodness. Well, I did it off and on. So maybe 5-6 years.
Wow.
And I say that because I was also a stay-at-home mother. So I was kind of doing that as I was watching my children. I don't watch your children, but you know what I mean.
No, you're
raising my children.
Like,
right.
You're being a mother.
Right. So, yeah, and I just kind of did that off and on. And then I took odd jobs here and there, working at a Taekwondo center that my son went to, working at a school that my son went to. So I taught art for maybe 2 years. And I basically took any job that I could so that I could be with my children, because I don't want to say I wasn't ready to let them go. I just didn't really.
You were being a Caribbean mother. So it's okay.
Yeah, it's just, it's my job to raise them, so I had to do that.
Again,
you know what I mean? So.
No judgments here. Like,
right.
Look, when we came to this country, I was 3. My brothers were 10 and 11, so they were already in like junior high school-ish. And my mom like looked around and saw what the nursery school situation was, and she's like,
Yeah, exactly. That word, Like, I don't trust daycares.
I do not trust daycare.
And, especially when, I really feel for mothers who have to go back to work after 6 weeks. I couldn't do it. I always tell my children when they were like, we're hungry. No, I'm joking.
You want food?
But I would rather be, broke than just kind of put them anywhere. So it was like my job to keep them. So I did whatever I could job-wise so that I could take them with me. After that, I worked on a ranch for a couple years.
What?
Yeah.
How does one end up on a... Okay. How do you go from being an art teacher to working on a ranch? And in what city and state was this?
That's what we call the dark years. No, I'm joking.
Gotcha.
No, they're joking. So I went to Georgia. When did I go to Georgia? 2004, 2005. I went to Georgia, and that's actually when I did the teaching. And then I went horseback riding and started working there, basically. I've always loved horses. I rode in Brooklyn.
Oh,
I don't
really?
know if you know, like right off the conduit. Yeah.
Which always terrifies me, because I'm like, where are the horses staying that they're on the parkway over here? Like, what?
Right.
Like, this seems wrong. Like, it's like the Black Cowboys. I get it, but I'm also like, how?
Look, we go where we can.
Yeah, you get in where you fit in.
Right. So yeah, it was actually a nice setup. It wasn't bad. They had the truck containers, and they made stalls out of them. So they would cut it in half, or maybe 3, not cut, but put up a divider, and then you would get 3 horses in there or 2 horses, and that would be their stalls. So, so I rode there for a while. When I went to Georgia, I found another place to ride, and I started doing trail rides from there and parties, and became like a ranch manager, which was nothing more than hanging out with horses all day. And that I was able to keep my children. They started riding, and
you just had like the bougie existence of doing that. I got you.
I don't know if you call it bougie. Yeah.
All right. So and then how does that get you to now being having Destination Own? Because I knew this would be fascinating. I knew it. I could tell.
Okay. So that's right. That's when I got into real estate, when I was in Georgia. And again, I could tell you my story, but I have always loved real estate. And I finally just decided I would get my license. But that's when the whole crash was happening. So
great timing on your part.
Great timing. Right. So I did that for a little while, real estate in Georgia. And then I ended up in the film industry.
Because of all the film stuff that was happening in Atlanta?
Because of all the film stuff, yes. Through a friend. Actually, I was getting a reading. And the gentleman who's doing the reading actually worked in the film industry. He hooked me up, and
He is a one-stop shop.
yeah. The rest is history now. So yeah, I worked in the film industry, in and out of the film industry for the last 10 years.
Oh wow! And that's you've kind of found a place that you actually love now.
Within real estate?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
See,
I'm like, are we getting there now?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. So yes, after I moved back up north, yada yada yada. And Kids are bigger. I went back into real estate just a couple years ago. Got my license in Pennsylvania. And as I was traveling, I was on a cruise with my husband. We went to Bermuda, and I noticed all these for sale signs. And I was just like, ooh, I want to go. I want to see. But, we were running out of time. We had to get back to the boat. Mm-hmm. So that's when it kind of clicked. Like, I would love to be able to go all of these different islands and just look at homes. And that's how I kind of came up with Destination Own. And from there, it blossomed. Not that I'm even doing that yet, but it blossomed to the tours that I do with people and just working with individuals. And hopefully I'll get back to the actual cruise excursions this year.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, I've been talking with some cruise lines, so it's in the works.
So tell us a little bit more about this. So you've created a really interesting business that I'm fascinated with because, as we were chatting yesterday, I love real estate and I love $1 Million Listing, love House Hunters, especially House Hunters International. Like HGTV is my homeboy.
Yes.
Yes. And
that's my happy place.
I think your timing in the industry is right because look, everyone knows who the Property Brothers are. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows what Love It or Listed is and House Hunters. Like there is like a craving for something new, something different within your home, and especially to go somewhere else. So how did you sort of tap into that when you started to build Destination Home?
How did I tap into that? I feel like I was tapping into myself. Like I love all those shows too. And I want to say that I actually started thinking about ways that I could travel prior to me getting cable. You know what I mean? And I love real estate prior to me getting cable. So that wasn't even a thing for me at the time. So HGTV now is just kind of fueling what I want to do. It's making me believe that this is right. Actually real. Right.
It's proving your hypothesis.
It's proving my hypothesis. See.
And so so how does it work? So, you've created a business where people who want to have a second home internationally navigate that universe.
Right.
And how do you even start?
Okay.
I mean, it's #goals for me. So how does one even start?
Okay. So I was very confused about how to start it as well. When I was in real estate school in Pennsylvania, I just started doing research, trying to find out how I could get licensed in, I think it was Costa Rica or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, it's like I would have to move there and da-da-da. But, that wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I just tried to figure out how I could go to different places. And then I came across a designation offered through National Association of Realtors. It's called a Certified International Property Specialist Designation.
Mouthful.
Yes. So I'll call it the SIPS designation. So what the SIPS agents do in the U.S., they deal with people coming into the U.S. We're trained to deal with people from all over the world. So if someone's moving in from China, they would refer them to a SIPS agent, and then we would help them to find a home here because, we're trained to deal with them. So what I decided to do was to turn it around and help people who want to look for homes in other countries. But I didn't want to limit myself to which, to any certain amount of country. Right. I didn't want to limit myself because I want to travel everywhere. So I'm being a little selfish.
No shade here.
If you want to go to Costa Rica, we'll go to Costa Rica. If you want to go to Istanbul, We'll go to Istanbul. So yeah, that's what I do. I help people to, and I started the travel agency because I would be relying on someone else to put that piece together and then try to match it. So I figured if I just did it all,
One-stop shopping.
yeah.
So now, someone will come to you and say, "Hey, Janel, I'm interested in buying a place in Turks and Caicos," and you're like, "Great, you should take a trip there."
Right.
Is that kind of how it works?
Kind of. I say, great, we should take a trip there.
Because I gotta go with you.
Right. But yeah, basically that's it. I would set up your airline, your accommodations. If you wanted to go on tours while you're there, I could set that up too. I would set you up with an agent. This is if I'm not going with you. I would set you up with an agent that you're going to meet with that I have vetted either through working for or through my network, being referred. And then we get you all set up.
Awesome. Okay, so you get me all set up. Mm-hmm. Now I want to buy something. How does that work?
So it works different in every country. And that's where I come in. I help you to go through this paperwork. So, it could be, they have a certain rule. Oops, sorry. They have a certain rule that you can't purchase real estate on the beach or something, but you have no idea. So you go down there and you're like just talking to any agent and they say, "Oh yeah, you like this beachfront property? It's yours for this amount of money and I'll give you this paperwork." That kind of happens sometimes. Those are the horror.
People fall in love with it.
Right. Those are the horror stories. And then you find out that you really don't own that because you can't own on the beach.
Unless you're a resident.
Because of this law.
Right.
Because you're a resident or this is, some
protected
kind of ancestral protected land or things like that. So that's where I come in. I only work through licensed agents where possible because some places they don't do that. But I only work through vetted agents. So I'm making sure that the land that you are looking at is, it's a viable property for you.
And so, and then you're there to sort of help guide us through the entire process. So,
yes.
Hey, I need to put a deposit down. Okay, now we're going to do the closing.
Yes.
Yada, the inspection, if there is an inspection.
Right, exactly. So, and when I say through the entire process, I might not be, if you're there for 3 weeks doing this, I might not be there for the entire 3 weeks, but I'm touching either physically or via email. But it's a conversation that's constantly happening.
Right, because you can't clone yourself, unless you've tried. And then
I have tried. And it ended up 2 big boys. I don't know what happened.
You're like, wait, this wasn't how it was.
Right.
Like, okay, fine. So that's awesome. And so, I think there's this sort of, again, hunger for people to try and figure out how to find a new place. And what are some of the places that you're able to sell in, and where would you sort of recommend people start kind of looking as good solid deals, or flip side, where should you stay the hell away from?
I don't know if I'd say anywhere to stay away from because I feel like everything's an adventure, right?
How adventurous do you want to be with your money?
Right, exactly. Not just with your money, but it's like I don't want to say it's like anywhere else, but you may look at something right now and it's not really that desirable, but give it 5 to 10 years. It's going to be the next hot spot. You have to do your research. If it has what you want, or if you can see a future in it, then that's something that you need to think about. But as far as places that are, did you say hot right now?
Yeah,
or?
Hot, interesting.
Yeah, hot, interesting. Vietnam.
Really?
Vietnam.
That's interesting. Okay, that was so not where I
haven't been there yet, but I've been doing some research on Vietnam. Philippines.
That I know. I've heard about that.
Yes. Nicaragua. Ecuador. Where it's like it's like an international village we live in now. So you can always find somewhere at some corner of the earth that is interesting and being developed. And the prices reflect that. I still have people coming to me who say they want to go to Africa, they want to go to Ghana.
Oh, because everyone got excited about your return.
Yes.
Oh, Lord. Can we talk about this for a second? Can you explain to people that, it's not everyone needs to go? Because my Instagram feed, Jesus.
Right. No, I actually think everyone should go. Okay. Even if it's not Ghana. Everyone should go to Africa. Everyone should go to Africa. It's where everything started.
Yes.
And it is beautiful. It really is. You have your areas that are a little sketchy, scurry, maybe, but you have that in Philly. You have it in New York. So, but yeah, everyone should go to Africa.
Have you been to Ghana?
I've been to Ghana a couple times.
And because I feel like there's, because of the year of return and the fact that it became this huge thing, more and more people are looking to go. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that, if you are looking to go, you should think about or just sort of know, do you need a visa? Do you need, to get shots or anything? What's that all about?
Right. So you do need shots to go to Ghana. We are not immunized, so we did not do that. There are ways to get around it. That's for another podcast. You do need a visa, but I believe now they're doing visas on arrival, which is good, but I guess a little scary too.
Because you have to get
just
there,
in case.
Just in case.
Right, just in case it don't work out.
Roll that dice, see what happens.
What else? Yeah, it's just like going to New Jersey. I mean, it's it's just a longer process, a longer flight. No, Ghana's great. People think it's not a modern city, but it is. It is. The first time I went to Ghana was in 2018. I went with a delegation from Ebony Magazine because they were going, it was, of course, before the year return. So I went with them and I was able to see Ghana like a celebrity. He got some doors open for us, things like that.
You met the president.
You know what? I almost met the president, but I was meeting with one of my agents. Well, not my agents, but I was meeting with an agent that I was going to be working with. And I didn't really think they were going to meet the president, but they did. And I wasn't there.
Damn it.
Yes. Yeah. I did not meet the president, but I almost did. And yeah, it was great. We spent 2 weeks there. We did everything. We tired ourselves out.
You went to the tourist spots that everyone's going to, and in the area where all the slave ships docked.
Yes. And that's something that we do. I don't know if I mentioned, but Destination Own does real estate tours. So after that first tour, the reason I went was so I could connect and set up for my tour that was coming up a couple months later. So since then I've been back to Ghana twice. And part of our tour is we do all those things, not the celebrity things, but we see all the sites. We get all of the history. We did a cooking class. You get to go and make what do you call those things? Like the Adinkra symbols. You put those on a scarf. You learn how to make kente cloth. We do all of these things as well as look at homes. So we don't just want to, because I've done this before, we don't want to kill you with looking at property. So we make it a well-rounded trip. If it's Ghana, I'm going to do 2 weeks because it's so far and it's a country. It's not a city. So there's a lot to see. We see 3 cities within Ghana. We see Kumasi. Then we see, 4, Cape Coast, Elmina, and then Accra. And then from there, we might take a day trip to another city and look at property. We meet people who have moved there from the U.S. We might do dinner with them. They let us tour their home,
Wow.
Yeah, so it's
people who've done their actual return. They're like, we've
yes,
gone back.
Yes. Since the 70s, they've been there.
Wow.
And actually, they just gave a lot of people, I can't remember how many people, citizenship, because that's the goal, is dual citizenship.
Right.
So they just got that after 30 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a big thing.
And when people are looking to like buy a home in Africa, what is sort of the thing that you're trying to sell to them? Is it stuff on the coast? Is it like is it really kind of a pied à terre vacation home, or is it someone who's looking to actually like, I'm going to relocate my family over?
So it's all up to the client. I have someone now who's looking for acreage. He wants to build a city. He's going to start with a resort on the beach. So we have like 19, 20 acres that we're looking at. And then from there, he just wants to, add on and add on. He wants to build a city. And then I have people who want to retire there. So, it's all up to the client.
And how has that been for you? So like you've gone from, you worked in the film industry. Mm-hmm. You became the first black woman to be a teamster.
Yep.
Which she didn't say before.
Nope. I forgot about that.
Yeah. How have you been able to sort of like take time for Janel? Because like you obviously have always been busy. Mm-hmm. But what's sort of your moment of self-care? Is it, comedy shows live? Is it yoga? Is it running? Is it horseback riding? What's the thing that you do for yourself that makes you feel like, you know what, I can breathe? Like I've got 1,000,001 jobs, I've got 1,000,001 things to do, but like this is going to be my time.
Yeah, that's still a struggle because I'm a wife too, and if people see you sitting around, they like, let me put you to work. No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking. But, we're husband and children. But I think what I do, and I know you said this is like work for me, but I watch HGTV. And it's kind of like...
It's research.
Right. It's just kind of like one of those things where you flop down on the couch or on the bed and... you just find a remote and just kind of veg out and watch HGTV and say, okay, it's possible, like, because when you're in it, you don't realize that you're doing it because it's going so fast. It's one of those, you don't take time to smell roses. Like, I actually thought about this years ago and now I'm doing it. But
you've manifested what you wanted to do.
Right. But it doesn't even feel like I have because I guess I'm moving on to the next step. And now it's more than a passion. It's a business. And now I have to be successful. So I have to strive for more and make more money. Now it's about the grind. So
you can still enjoy it while you watch it.
I'm trying.
Well, so Janel, it's been such a delight to have you on the show. We can talk about real estate, and I'm so glad we were able to talk about what's happening in Ghana because like that I think is something that people don't often know, and there's a lot of confusion out there. So thank you for your clarity, my darling. Much appreciated, and we'll put all the information in the show notes about how people can get in contact with you because you can show basically houses anywhere in the world, right?
Anywhere in the world, and then soon we'll be on cruise lines, so you can just do excursions.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So put all those details on our show notes. And Janel, it was such a delight to have you on the show. Thank you so very much.
Thank you even more.
Awesome. And that's our show.